Welcome back to the Pit Strategy Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff.
And I'm Matt.
And we just want to welcome you as we are back and covering all of the fun that was the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yes. We are back together. I don't sound like I'm recording inside of a dumpster anymore.
And I don't feel like I'm dying of dysentery. So pluses all around.
Wins all around, yes.
No, it was definitely, I think, the most exciting race of the weekend, personally.
Of the triple header that we've had.
Or I meant of the season. Sorry, best race of the season so far.
Really,
yes,
more than Australia.
I think so. There was just so much more overtaking. It was very dramatic. There was enough on-track drama to keep it super interesting and make up for the snooze fest that was Suzuka last week. So.
Definitely made up for Suzuka. I don't know. I feel like Australia's was just so more unpredictable and crazy. That makes it the craziest race of the year for me.
Okay.
But Bahrain, definitely a close second.
You're allowed to be wrong. Anyway.
The craziest dry race by far.
Yes.
Easily.
For sure. I think, not that Bahrain's ever been boring, I don't think, but I think it was just, I don't know, it was more action-packed than I think everybody kind of expected it to be. Especially contrasting it to Suzuka last week.
Something tells me that partially that's due to the fact that it wasn't the season opener this time around.
Also true.
So there's a bit more motivation for some drivers to gain more points, prove something, i.e. Oscar Piastri.
You mean two-time race winner and podium topper for the season, Oscar Piastri? That Oscar Piastri?
Yeah, that Oscar Piastri, yeah.
Well, we'll get into Bahrain here in a second, but let's start it off with the dispatch. Short news day today. Not a whole lot of news coming out of Bahrain, but on the eve of it all, McLaren CEO Zach Brown decided to just drop a video across socials and YouTube announcing that for the first time since 1995, McLaren is returning to the World Endurance Championship.
That's cool.
Yeah, specifically in the hypercar class, which is where they used to race the McLaren F1 back in the day. That was their last entry, and last win was in 1995. So they are aiming for a 2027 entry. So that'll be a really fun one to see. Definitely good to see McLaren rounding out their racing program. I mean, obviously they do Formula One, they do Indy, they do Formula E. WEC seems like the last jewel in the crown, so to speak.
Yeah, the next logical choice for sure.
Yeah, they've got the driver program to augment that well, so I think it'll be fun to see them, especially with a hypercar. Hypercars are just fun.
Yeah, I mean, if they bring the prowess and expertise that they've got in their F1 program, I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll do better than Lamborghini did in their first year.
Also a true statement.
Although that bar's pretty low.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's just part of me that just, I don't know, that papaya just stands out in any class that it's in. It's easily recognizable, so it'll be good to see one on track. Obviously, we live in North Texas, and so Le Mans is a little more accessible to us than Formula One. Obviously, we're just a couple hours drive from Circuit of the Americas in Austin. But Circuit of the Americas for Formula One is just outrageously expensive.
Way more expensive, yeah.
Hard to get tickets to, and not the easiest to get to the circuit. WEC is the next best thing, I think. Lone Star Le Mans is a great thing. We went last year, had an absolute blast. I'm excited to see, more drivers, more teams that I'm familiar with in another racing series. So definitely looking forward to seeing that out there. So that'll do it for the news, unless you've got any saved rounds for that.
No, I do not.
Yeah. So, with that, we'll jump into the Bahrain Grand Prix. Going into the weekend, I thought this was an interesting thing. It wasn't really covered in any of the pre-race coverage or anything like that. I just happened to notice it when I was on the FIA's website this morning. Yes, I perused the FIA's website for, race details. I do the digging, so you don't have to.
It's appreciated.
But it was noted that both Red Bull Racing and VCarb took new energy stores and control electronics for the weekend for all four cars. So 2 new sets for the entire Red Bull organization as a whole. One of the 2 that they're allowed for the entire season.
Didn't seem to help them all that much.
Well, I'm wondering why they did it. I wonder if there was something wrong with it. I mean, we obviously know Max has been complaining about that car since day one.
Right. I can't imagine control electronics has too much to do with what he's been complaining about, though.
George Russell would like a word. Just saying. But anyway.
Yeah.
But I thought it was curious. I mean, race 4 of the calendar, and you've already replaced the entire electronics and energy stores for all your cars. You just hope nobody puts it into a wall and you have to burn your last one, say, I don't know, Miami, Imola, something like that, where drivers are just prone to crashing at high speeds.
Yeah, that is really curious that they did that for all 4. I wonder if that was coordinated or if it was just a coincidence that VCarb and Red Bull both happened to be doing that.
That, or there's just a quality defect across the board. My internal conspiracy brain says that probably wonder if Red Bull had a quality problem and VCarb is copying them so closely it just carried over. And so crap, we got to fix all of these now.
Yeah, because, I mean, they're separate factories, they're separate teams, separate cars, but yeah, it's not too far outside the realm of possibility.
That's what I thought. It was just my conspiracy brain said, sharing of technology going on here. Interesting. But
you're putting the tinfoil hat on a little bit early,
just
aren't
a
you?
smidge early. But, that was just things I noticed after the fact. It's like, I'm kind of curious they didn't talk about it going into the weekend, or at least not that I heard. But I just thought it was curious. Going into free practice, just every team was struggling with grip. And braking issues. It seemed like nobody could get that hard tire to work hardly at all.
Nah. The entire weekend, multiple drivers were complaining about that hard.
Yeah, it was like ice skates out there.
Yeah.
And that track is pretty hard on degradation, but it seemed like most teams were making the medium last as long as they needed it to, and even a couple teams were pushing that soft tire way further than they expected.
Yes.
So
very much so.
I thought that was an interesting thing. But yeah, braking issues. Man, turn 1. How many lockups did we have over the whole weekend? I don't think I've seen that many lockups.
Count. Yeah, that was a lot of lockups.
Yeah, it was nuts.
They're making it look like Monza out there.
Well, and then I know they mentioned Verstappen changing his entire brake compound between, I think it was FP3 and qualifying. Whatever brakes they were using, they just didn't trust them to last through a race. So they swapped them out before Parc Fermé into quali.
Man, we know that Max will work with just about any equipment to one extent or another. So if he's getting something changed, that says something.
That's how you know you done messed up.
Yep.
Let's see. The only other thing that came out of the free practices that I noticed was specifically Williams got fined €7,500 for Alex impeding Luke Browning.
That was a big impede.
Oh, it was close. If Alex had not jumped out at the last second, both of those cars would have just been totaled, and a shiny spot of debris on the desert floor out there.
Yeah,
Browning was going so fast through that corner, and Alex was just almost not stationary, but he was crawling. Mm-hmm. That would have been terrible. The onboard from Felipe Drogovic just shows how close they were. Like, it was inches from a collision.
You mean Browning?
No, Felipe Drogovic.
Right.
He was coming around the corner just in time to see Browning pass him and just barely miss Albon.
Yeah.
If you hadn't seen it, go check out Felipe Drogovic's onboard from Free Practice 1. It's insane.
For me, I mean, the whole near miss or near hit was crazy in and of itself. I want to know why this fine was cheaper than Carlos Sainz's bathroom break last week.
I had the same question, and I can't find a good answer for it. The only thing I can find that kind of leads a little bit of, or sheds a little bit of light on it, is Sainz was not really apologetic at all about missing it. He's like, I had a medical issue, couldn't deal with it. Sorry, fine me. I don't care. In fact, even in the post-race conference at Suzuka, he's just like, don't really care. I'll pay it. That couldn't be helped. Apparently, Williams got the fine, not Albon.
Okay.
The team was fined, not the driver. And apparently, Williams and whoever their representative they sent to the FIA when they got summoned was very much apologetic that their pit wall was distracted and did not tell Albon that Browning was coming. And they didn't tell Browning to look out for Albon either. They had no idea they were that close on track. The team owned up to their fault there, and so I think the FAA had a little bit of mercy there, and that's why they find the team, not the driver. So that's just best guess.
Okay. Interesting.
Based on the wording in the infringement document, is just kind of leaves it to be that way.
Okay.
But yeah, apparently a unplanned bathroom break is more expensive than almost obliterating two cars.
I still say 10K is absolutely ridiculous
So dumb.
for something like that you can't really avoid, which is probably why Carlos was unapologetic about it.
Carlos brought the FAA medical delegate with him.
Yes.
And had a signed statement saying, yeah, he's been medically diagnosed as having a stomach bug. Like, he's not faking this. He's not.
His stomach hurt.
Yeah. He's ODing on Pepto-Bismol back there. Give the man a break. And the FAA is like, nope, $10,000 for a tummy ache. Get out. It's ridiculous. Jeez. But anyway, that will about do it for free practices. Going into qualifying, I want to say shocker, but it's not really a shocker. Liam Lawson got knocked out in Q1. Not knocked out by just anybody. He got knocked out by Yuki Tsunoda.
Sweet revenge from Japan.
It was hilarious to watch that. And you could just see when he got back to the garage, he's just like, what have I done? It was interesting. So yeah, Q1 was pretty uneventful other than that. Q2 was delayed for a hot minute due to Esteban Ocon putting it into a wall backwards.
Yep.
Spun out into between turns 2 and 3, and the pretty much the back left corner just got crunched in really bad, and he had to return to the pits, so that got the session delayed a little bit.
That's a funny one to spin out in because it's a pretty low speed sequence of turns.
I feel like it was a car issue. If you look at his onboard when he crashed, he's shaking the wheel a lot. I feel like he had some sort of steering issue, perhaps. I don't know.
That was a theme from this weekend: steering wheel issues.
We have Fernando Alonso. Was that Q1 or Q2?
I don't remember.
Or was it? It was in the free practice.
Free practice.
Yeah.
For
his whole steering
Alonso,
wheel just pops off in his hand.
I don't think it was him popping it out. It was. He was complaining about the inputs not working properly.
Right.
And in his frustration, he pops the steering wheel out to prove his point.
What a point to prove. Holy moly.
Right.
Only Fernando Alonso could get away with that kind of crap.
Absolutely. He's the guy that will just, he's not Kimi Räikkönen level where he won't do the whole yacht thing.
Yeah.
That Räikkönen did, but he has crawled up into the stands before.
Yep.
To take selfies with people. So that doesn't shock me.
He's becoming more like Räikkönen in his old age.
He's a grumpy old man at this point.
He's becoming the grumpy old Spaniard, and I'm here for it.
Yes. Yeah. But we have that. We have Ocon steering wheel issues, and then Russell later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just curious if that was kind of the theme for Bahrain.
It's possible. I wonder if the heat had anything to do with it. I mean, obviously we had a lot of running during the day. Obviously qualifying and the race were at night, but I wonder if the cars had some overheating issues due to the temperatures. This would definitely be the hottest race on the calendar so far. So they just aren't properly tuned for those kind of conditions.
I mean, he can definitely screw with control electronics to some degree, but that's a lot.
That is a lot. Who knows? Back to Q2. Pierre Gasly put it in P3, an Alpine best for the season. That was impressive.
Let's go, Pierre.
Yeah, dude had fantastic form around this track. It was great to see.
Did Pierre take a trip to Jeremy Clarkson's farm too? Did he learn how to drive tractors while he was out there?
He got rid of Ocon. It's amazing what will happen when you put the worst driver out and you don't have to worry about fighting with him all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So yeah, Gasly took P3. Poor Isaac Hadjar fell to P12. That was kind of sad. He was pushing so hard. I had such high hopes for him to climb up a little higher this weekend, but Bahrain just did not favor him, unfortunately. Can't win them all. Dude's still on a good roll, so he's got time. But yeah, definitely putting that V-carb, the pointy end, where it needs to be. Just needs a little more work. And then rolling into Q3. Okay, them freaking Mercs are mega quick.
They are so quick.
George and Antonelli both were just booking it. Paint those Mercs orange, and they kind of feel a bit like a McLaren.
You probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
And I just love how Kimi is closing in on George more and more with every weekend.
I think next year Antonelli is going to be the the one to watch. I make fun of Toto Wolff a lot for just boneheaded, dumb things, but I think he was right when he was claiming, and no one believed him, but he was claiming that he believes Antonelli could be the next Verstappen-esque young prodigy.
I can see that.
And I mean, obviously he hasn't won a race yet, but he is hyper consistent. He's putting it in the top 10 every week, if not the top like 5 or 6, consistently. Isn't wrecking,
Right. Right.
like some of these other rookies are doing. Consistently decent qualifier, and just knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Super consistent, super smooth, very clean racer.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is video of Kimi. This is back in his F2 days. Like his teammates were asking him about random fast laps that he has had throughout his career, and he can name them down to sometimes the 100th, sometimes the 1000th.
Dang.
From years prior. The guy just remembers that stuff like it's nothing.
Teenagers with brains like sponges. Oh, to be that young again.
Like this kid is a prodigy.
Yeah.
He's made for this.
Yes.
And yeah, I would agree that he could very well be the next Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I agree. Of all the rookies, he is the one that is impressing me the most. Again, not because he's taken a podium, he hasn't won a race yet, but he is just super consistent, and you don't have to worry about him wrecking. Like I think if he wrecks, it's not going to be his fault. It's going to be because somebody hit him. I think he's just one of those guys that has a very singular talent, and he is doing what he was made to do and doing it well.
Now, he is still in a Mercedes, so we got to throw that little factor in there too, but it's a small one. You cannot dispute the fact that he is, like you said, is very consistent with that Mercedes.
Well, and I think Mercedes losing Hamilton was a wake-up call for that team. I think they realized how big of a mistake they made. You had this multi-time world champion that just decided to walk out on the team that he won most of these championships with, and I think they got scared. They just realized we don't have anything else waiting in the wings. We have to have a fantastic level car to give our other drivers a chance at that level of greatness. And I'm not saying they're there yet. I mean, Mercs have had their issues this whole season, just like every other team. And in fact, George almost lost it at the end of this one. But it's the development program of that Mercedes at least looks more promising than it has in the past.
Makes you wonder if that would still be the case if Lewis was still at Mercedes.
Yeah, hard to know. It'd be very hard to know. I don't know. Based on the performance last year, I don't know. I have to believe that something lit a fire under their butts to produce a great car, and I don't think you could do that without something like your all-star driver walking out on you. And, not to try to predict the future, but I think we may see perhaps something similar happen if Max leaves Red Bull at the end of this year.
Very possible, yeah.
As the rumors are floating around.
Take Max's driver salary, put it towards some engineering.
Yeah, and come up with the killer car Red Bull wants it to be. So.
Right.
But, to round out qualifying, Max took P7, which was quite a shocker to me. He put in a banker great lap there at the end, but it just wasn't enough. Like I said, the McLarens and Mercedes, man, they were booking it. Leclerc was also just hauling, and Red Bull just didn't quite have it.
Yeah, I would chalk that up more to the car than anything
too.
else. It's just a tractor. Max is doing the absolute best that he can with it.
Yeah.
But it's just not enough.
Yeah, it's struggling. Yuki dropped to P9. Of course, Oscar Piastri took pole position, which was just a brilliant thing to watch. That last qualifying lap, the one that gave him pole position, was just mind-blowing.
Chef's kiss right there.
Yeah, that car was running on rocket fuel and cocaine. My goodness, that car was lightning. And then, Lando put it down there next to Max at P6, which was also surprising.
Yeah, our little conspiracy about Lando getting complacent continues.
Yes.
I think he's just getting inside his own head too much.
I think so. In fact, after the free practices, he was even like, I don't know how to drive anymore. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Like, what do you mean? You're a world championship contender. You're leading the world championship right now.
Yeah.
Get it together, my man.
Yeah, I think
you have to.
I wonder if the press is getting to him, all the constant media spotlight. Lando has never struck me as someone who enjoys the spotlight. Whereas Max doesn't enjoy the spotlight, but Max doesn't give them any attention. He just he'll just walk away from an interview just because he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I think Lando also doesn't like interviews and the press and all that kind of stuff, but he doesn't know how to.
He's too nice.
He doesn't know how to turn off that public persona, and so things get to him. I feel like the press and the media gets to him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Drive to Survive is a great indicator of how any of these drivers are realistically. However, I will say he seems a whole lot more camera shy and embarrassed on Drive to Survive than he does anywhere else, and I think he just does not do. He'll have his moment of spotlight. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he likes negative press all that much, and he doesn't handle criticism super well.
It gets to him pretty easily.
Yes.
And that's something that he really needs to work on.
Well, and I think the stress, pitting him against Oscar, someone who I think he at one time considered a friend, maybe still does, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like maybe it's wearing on him a little bit.
Probably.
Yeah, it was weird to see him down in P6. Kind of interesting.
I will say I love seeing Yuki right behind Max. The fact that Yuki can make that Red Bull perform almost at Max's level is very encouraging to see.
No, it was great. It was definitely encouraging to see Yuki not fall into the same pitfalls that hit Liam Lawson or Checo.
Yeah. I will once again say Red Bull picked the wrong driver at the start of this season.
Agreed. After qualifying, both Russell and Antonelli were given a one-place grid penalty drop due to incorrectly leaving the pits at the incorrect time after Ocon's crash that got red flagged. The team took responsibility for that. They told George and Kimi to go out, and the pit wall was looking at the estimated restart time for the session, not the time it actually was going to start.
Oopsie poopsie.
And so when that estimated time came up, they just sent the drivers out. And they owned up to that and asked the FIA to penalize the team, not the drivers, with a monetary fine. It was a sporting penalty, so one place grid drop for each of the Mercedes drivers.
Pretty arbitrary, but still, you got to enforce it.
Yep, it is what it is. It's the only way teams will learn, unfortunately.
Yep.
But then to the race itself. So that start was hyper aggressive.
That was the most intense start we've had all year.
Lando jumped up 5 places into 2 turns.
Yes. That was frightening.
George jumped up. Antonelli jumped up. Leclerc put on a masterclass for defense for about 5 turns, and then it fell away from him for a bit, as it tends to happen to Ferrari.
Yeah.
But no, it was a. If we were to cover every single overtake that happened during this race, we would be here for like 6 hours.
It was what was crazy was how much of a back and forth it was.
Yes. And sometimes it gets frustrating on certain tracks where it just becomes one driver overtakes another in a DRS zone, and then the next DRS zone they swap back, and it just becomes like this DRS trade.
Yes.
There was a little bit of that, but there was also so much overtaking in non-DRS areas. Some of the high-speed corners. Sainz and Hamilton got into it for a little bit, and they duked it out for like 5 turns, no DRS. It was just pure racecraft, and it was simply lovely.
It was cinematic.
It was wonderful to see.
On the note of cinema, can we please talk to the F1 TV directors? Because, oh my gosh, the amount of times they would cut away from a battle to look at something that did not matter.
Yes.
Oh my God, guys, please just stay focused on what's exciting.
Yeah, it's hard. And I get it. On a race like this, there is so much going on that's exciting. But at the same time, some consistency is required.
Some consistency. And also, please show the race winner on the main screen.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Come on. Show Oscar a little bit of respect.
Shameless plug for multi-viewer so you can watch all the different angles and onboards and all that kind of stuff. It makes the F1 broadcast a little bit more tolerable. Pit stops were an issue for Red Bull.
Yeah.
Both times for both Max and Yuki, They'd pull into the pits, and the little LED light that signals when they're clear to go
The pit release, yeah.
just didn't work.
Just didn't want to.
Just got stuck on yellow, apparently,
Yeah.
for Yuki at least. Caused some just erroneously long.
Worst game of red light, green light ever.
It was horrible. It was so bad. You could just see Max's frustration in the car.
Yeah.
I can only imagine Yuki was swearing in his helmet.
Oh, he absolutely was. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it happened both times. Like both drivers had 2 pit stops each, and it screwed up on both of them. I was just like, come on, guys.
You're supposed to be the best. You are known for your pit stops. What's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, okay, I can understand. Okay, maybe there's a mechanical fault and it failed the first time. Okay, did you not test it before they came back around?
Yeah, what were you doing the whole time?
Or did you just not have like a backup, like, hey, if this fails, we're also going to give you a hand signal?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Come on,
I think
guys.
I think some of the pit crews have gotten a little lazy with technology.
I can see that, yeah.
Don't have a good fail-safe backup. A hand signal doesn't fail.
Need to have them work with a NASCAR team for a weekend.
Something.
Just do some exchange student style training.
Yeah, something. I mean, this is shadows of Sauber's bad pit stops from last year.
Oof.
It's like, come on.
That's quite the comparison.
Yeah, it's like, get it together, guys. Sainz and Tsunoda had themselves a bit of a scrap about halfway through the race, which brought out a safety car due to debris on the track.
Yep. Blew a nice hole in the side pod for Carlos.
Oh, my gosh. It was pretty bad for the Williams. But yeah, safety car for debris on turn 3. Everybody pitted. Everybody used that as a good shot to switch over to new tires, to do their necessary compound chains. Unless you're in a Scarlet Ferrari and you request to go to plan Delta and the team overrides you and puts you back out on mediums when you are already on mediums.
Someone sounds a little salty.
I'm a little salty. I speak for Leclerc here. That man.
Therapy's not enough anymore.
Therapy's not enough. This man.
This is why he started an ice cream company, so he could eat his problems away.
Eat his problems away, and I hope he's making enough money to start his own F1 team, because Ferrari doesn't deserve Charles Leclerc, in my opinion.
No.
He's too good for them. It's only a matter of time, I think, before Hamilton comes to the same realization.
Yeah, for real. A joint venture between Leclerc and Hamilton, perhaps?
Hamilton's got what? His Almave alcohol-free tequila or whatever it is?
Yeah. They've got plenty of things that are supplementary income.
Yeah, I'm sure they could figure it out.
Yeah.
Speaking of Hamilton, Lando passed Hamilton off the track after the safety car restart.
Not even slightly.
It was egregious.
Yeah.
It was like, come on.
Like, dude, you're better than that.
The
Come
team
on.
had to tell him to give it up. I was like, come on, Lando. Like, you know what you did.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then, on lap 47, Sainz had to retire due to the big gaping hole in the side of his Williams.
He took a broadside.
He did. It was a big old hole, man. You could see the whole cooling system in the side of it. It was pretty bad.
Yep.
Honestly, I'm surprised he kept it out there as long as he did. It must have been overheating or something, but he nursed it for, I don't know, a good 10 laps.
Something like
half of those
that,
were
yeah.
safety car laps, obviously, so you're not at full speed, but it was still a while he managed to nurse it and hold position before the team told him to retire.
That telemetry must have told them something that they didn't like.
I'm sure it was going to overheat. That's the only thing I could think is all that cooling in that side pod gone. You don't want to cook your engine if you can help it. So
It went out the window, if you will.
yes. Speaking of vehicles falling apart on them, I don't know if it's a shorter list to tell you what didn't go wrong with Russell's car. Last 15 laps?
That sounds right, yeah, roughly.
So it started off, his transponder died. The timing tower just had him plummet to the bottom.
Yes.
In fact, if you looked at it on the map, he was out in the parking lot.
Yes, he's on the parking lot.
It's so funny.
Think
the commentators
different.
are like, we can confirm he's not dead. He's actually out there.
Russell has not flown to the moon.
No. But then he was having issues with his clutch. He was having issues with his steering, issues with his brakes. And by the last lap, you could tell he is
He was fighting for his life.
He was fighting for his life in that car. If he had given that man a roll of duct tape, he'd have been out there duct taping the wheels onto it to keep it from falling off. But yeah, no, up until the last lap, Lando was trying to get past him. You could just tell Russell was like, "I am not moving. I have fought this dying car for too long to give up my P2."
Yeah,
And
I've gone through this for too long.
yeah, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
no.
give it up. And yeah, no, I think it was brilliant racecraft.
It was great defense from Russell.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely a show from his part, and you could tell the Mercedes crew was very, very impressed with how well George handled himself and all of that. I think that just, to me, that is evidence that George has arrived. Like, George is not this young, Mercedes Academy, Williams Jr. driver. Like, no, he sat under Lewis for the expected amount of time. He has earned that seat. He is performing well, and you can't fault the man for the performance he's putting in every single week.
Yeah, no, safe to say that we are definitely seeing the prime of George Russell right now.
Yep. So, but yeah, that up until the last lap, with an Oscar Piastri win. Congrats to...
Huge congrats. Very well deserved.
Yep, congrats to the Aussie for his second win this season.
I think it's the least amount of screen time that Oscar's gotten in his career.
They didn't show him hardly at all, except when he pitted.
I mean, that's like 2023 Max Verstappen right
Just
there.
Just about. George P2 and then Lando rounding it out P3. It was a good podium out there. I think beyond that, I think we were wrong on our predictions across the board. Otherwise, Max wasn't up there.
No. Leclerc he was kind of up there.
He was fourth.
Did you predict him in fourth or fifth?
I think I predicted him in fifth. I think I said both McLarens.
Then Max and then George,
Max and
then
then George, and then a Ferrari.
Yeah.
I think is what I put.
Yeah.
And I think you and I were very similar, just different order of the same drivers. But so other than that, it was crazy order of things. Okay, I mentioned I went through the FAA monotony of technical documents, so you don't have to. So let's go into all of the penalties. There were a lot.
Yeah, this will take a minute.
Okay, first penalty started at the beginning of the race. Max Verstappen calls out Lando Norris for rolling out of his grid box before the start, giving him a slight advantage. And the FAA slapped Lando with a 5-second penalty, which he served in the pits on his first pit stop.
Max Verstappen is like an owl when it comes to
Inspector Verstappen.
Yeah, Inspector Verstappen.
That man,
doesn't miss a thing.
That man can spot an infringement a mile away.
What was funny was his onboard when he sees that happen to Lando. His helmet just snaps right to Lando's car, just like, and now it's just like.
Oh,
laser
no, you
focused.
don't. Yeah. So yeah, 5 seconds to Lando on that one. Sainz got a 10-second penalty and 2 penalty points for forcing Antonelli off the road at turn 10. They had a bit of a scrap, and Sainz got a little bit aggressive out there.
Yeah, he did.
I think he was a little fed up with being pushed around, so he decided to push back a little too hard. At the end of the race, Nico Hülkenberg was disqualified due to plank wear.
That's a lot of plank wear we're seeing this first couple of races.
I think... And this is just a guess. I think everybody's utilizing that DRS setup more. And just the way the wing configuration is, it's giving them so much more rear downforce on the back of the car. And it's if you watch, especially Bahrain and Suzuka on those long straights, those cars are bottoming out at the back end so much sooner than ever before.
Yes, I agree with you there. There's a lot of sparks flying.
Tons of sparks. Hulkenberg's plank was 8.4 millimeters on the left-hand side, 8.5 millimeters on the center line, and 8.4 millimeters on the right-hand side. The minimum is 9 millimeters.
That's
a lot of
we've
wear.
seen. That's more than what Ferrari had.
Yeah.
In China.
Yep. It's a lot.
So it was China, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They both got DQ'd at China. Yep. So it was significant for Hulkenberg. So I can see how that happened. It's a shame it's not Hulkenberg's fault. The engineer set up the car. He just races it. But
they're
gonna have to tweak that quite a bit because you can't be getting DQ'd for plank wear every single week. After speaking of Hulkenberg, Lawson was given a 10-second penalty and 2 penalty points for hitting Hulkenberg due to missing the apex on turn 1 while attempting to pass him on the inside.
Yeah.
He just misjudged that and,
Yeah.
just bonked Hulkenberg, unfortunately.
Not the best look.
No.
Liam's kind of on thin ice right now.
He's a bit of a hothead out there. I feel like I don't know if reckless is the right word. He's just not.
He's not thinking.
He's not smart on track. Is just the best way I can put it.
Yeah, that's the best way I can put it too.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame. Russell almost got himself a penalty. He got noted for a DRS infringement due to his electronics and transponder failing. So, things you learn. The transponder, the same transponder that shows them on the mini map, if you're watching the F1 TV, that same transponder is what causes the DRS to activate when they enter the DRS activation point. So the transponder will register if they're within 1 second of the car ahead of them. When they pass the detection line, it'll automatically open the DRS flap.
Okay, yeah.
Because Russell's transponder failed him, there is a provision that allows the engineer for each team to give the driver a manual button. They can map a button on the wheel to open the DRS flap.
Right.
But it requires the engineer to tell them when they're within 1 second, and the driver has to eyeball the line where they are allowed to turn it on.
Yeah.
And when you're going that fast, sometimes you just don't get it right. And Russell got noted for opening the DRS gap too early when he was outside of the 1 second gap, and it gave him a 200th advantage according to the FIA. But he himself noticed his error and gave up 2/10, almost 3/10 in a turn because of his error. And because of that, the FAA did not give him a penalty due to no advantage being gained.
You know what? Good on George.
He recognized his error and solved it. And I think the notation in the FAA document was like, we even understand there was extenuating circumstances. Like, it was kind of a bad deal all around. So
yeah. Even still, George didn't have to, give himself a disadvantage.
No,
so
and
that was probably smarter, honestly, all the way around.
And managed to still put it in P2, so you can't fault the man.
No, not at all.
And then, last but not least, black and white flags for track limits. I have the document.
Many.
Okay, so for those that don't look at the FAA documents, most FAA penalty infringements and that kind of stuff are one-pagers. It's 2 paragraphs at most.
It's light reading, honestly.
It's very light reading. It's very easy to go through. There's usually a lot of them, but it's usually very simple to go through them all. There were 3 pages of black and white flag infringements for track limits at turns 1, 3, 4, 7, 10, 11, and 13. That's half the track, y'all. These drivers could not keep it between the lines.
Also, remember what I said last year about Arab tracks being a little more picky when it comes to track limits?
Yes.
I rest my case.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So almost every driver had at least one track limits infringement. Over half the grid had 2. And then the following drivers had 3 and were at risk of being penalized. Antonelli had 3, Hadjar had 3, Tsunoda had 3, Doohan, Verstappen, Norris, and Behrman all had 3 black and white flag infringements.
Gee, man.
These drivers don't know how to color between them.
That's almost half the grid.
It's ridiculous. In fact, the only driver that I saw that had only one infringement, freaking Lance Stroll.
I don't think that's due to his skill. I think just because he was too slow to push the track limits.
He wasn't pushing it in the corners because
exactly because he couldn't. I don't know, but yeah, that's just the most likely conclusion that I can come to.
That's embarrassing. Anyway, yeah, Bahrain was a circus.
Yes,
but
a
a fun
very
one.
good circus.
It was a great one. Definitely one to watch. If you haven't seen it, go watch the replays. It's great. Anything else for Bahrain?
No, sir. Pretty cut and dry, but very exciting.
Yep, I think that'll do it for that. So let's look forward to this is race number 3 of our triple header.
Yes, it's the end of the triple header.
And give these guys a break. But we go around the Persian Gulf. We head over to Saudi Arabia. We are racing this weekend at the Jeddah Corniche Circuit. That's a 6.174 kilometer track, or 3.836 miles in freedom units. It's a 50 lapper. Haven't been racing here that long, since 2021. Current lap record is currently held by Lewis Hamilton with a 1 minute 30 seconds, 7:34, set back in the inaugural race in 2021, back when he was at Mercedes.
Very nice.
This is another one we usually race at night under the lights,
Yep.
Which is also just really fun. It's a beautiful track, I think. It's right by the ocean. It's just a really fun one with some great high speed. I love the hairpin halfway through it.
Oh,
It's
that's
so fun.
Crazy hairpin. Yep.
Racing it in F124, it's chef's kiss. It's such a good overtaking point. I know you're probably not supposed to overtake there, but I
It's
do.
not a good idea.
It's not a good idea, but I do it and I love it. It's so fun. And there's double chicanes on the back half that just make for some interesting moments when drivers just don't time their braking right. It ends for just a lot of people just shooting through the corners, getting some corner cutting penalties. It's great, and I'm honestly super excited for the rookies to go out there, because this is a track that requires some technical expertise.
Yeah.
Turns 1 and 2 right past the pit lane are super hard 90-degree turns.
Yes, they are. And the first one is very high speed.
Yes. I'm pretty sure every driver has spun out there at least once.
Oh yeah, the amount of lockups that have gone in turn
Yes,
one.
you get so much speed going down the pit straight, and you just realize, crap, I'm coming up to a solid wall. I mean, it's got a runoff area, but it ain't huge.
It's not a long one.
Yeah, and you've got to turn this thing 90 degrees both ways to get through it, and it's fun. I enjoy watching it.
Ollie Behrman has a slight advantage here.
Having raced it in Carlos Sainz's Ferrari when he was out for appendix surgery last
Yes.
season. So the man, and he P6?
7, I think.
7, yes. I was going to say, in the points, it was very impressive for his F1 debut.
Very well done.
So, yeah, it'll be an interesting one. So going into Saudi, who's your favorite here? Who do you have to win it?
You know what? I don't think Lando is going to be out of his own head within a week. So we're going to have to go with the other rocket ship, the other McLaren. I'm picking Oscar Piastri.
Okay.
I think he can do it again. I think that he can eke out a better qualifying run. And, just stay ahead of his teammate. Stay ahead of the rest of the field.
Okay. That's a good prediction. I think of the two of them, he is definitely the stronger choice. Based on what I saw this last week, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say this is a favorite. I don't know if this is actually practical, but I'm hedging my bet here. I think we could see Antonelli's first podium and possibly his first win here.
Okay.
If not him, then George. Like, one of those marks, I think, has a really good shot at topping that podium.
Okay, so you got some faith in the Mercedes.
I do. Right. I will admit, I have never been the biggest Mercedes fan. Never. Granted, I have not been watching Formula One all that long, but based on what I've seen for the last season or two that I've been watching, and watching replays of stuff, there just hasn't been a whole lot to get excited about in that camp. Yet this last weekend made a bit of a believer out of me that they are turning a corner, and I think they've turned it such a degree you could win a race with it.
I agree. Yeah. Now, George has been pretty lucky for his first couple of podiums.
Yes.
But this time around, it was won on merit.
Yes.
So Mercedes is definitely making the right decisions when it comes to the car, because both of their drivers are performing very well.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't think that's too far-fetched of a prediction.
And I also think because of the number of rookies we have, obviously we have more rookies on the grid than we've ever had before. There's just a higher likelihood of, on the start, somebody putting it into a wall, putting it into another car. In fact, I think we've had safety cars for the last several Saudi Grand Prix because of that.
It's a very tight track.
I did not fact check this, so don't hold this against me if I'm wrong. But I think somebody said it has the highest likelihood of a safety car outside of Monaco, just because of how tight it is.
Mm-hmm. I think that's right.
And so it's one of those things of a safety car can upset the balance of an entire race real fast, leading to people being out of order, people getting pit strategies incorrect, whatever, which can lead to someone who you wouldn't normally expect on a podium or even a win to be there. And I think that could suit the Mercedes crew, because they seem to have all their ducks in a row: cars, driver, strategy, pit stops, all the things that you need. While there may not be the best in all categories, their ducks are in a row, and sometimes that's all you need to win a race.
For sure. Yeah. You just got to go back to basics sometime.
Yeah, exactly that. So who do you think's most at risk going into this one?
You know, I got to say Liam,
Yeah.
because his antics from Bahrain don't look good.
No.
He has not made himself look good since he got demoted from Red Bull. And like you were just saying, this track is really unforgiving when it comes to errors.
Yeah.
It's very tight. And yeah, I can just see Liam's personal motivation getting the better of him.
Yeah.
Just taking something a little too far, a little too drastically, and it'll just blow up in his face.
Oh, that's definitely a possibility there.
How about you?
I think I'm going to have to go with Ferrari.
Okay.
Leclerc finished P4. Great performance by him. Hamilton slightly further down, but they still do not have that car figured out. Both drivers were complaining about issues through the entire weekend with setups and configurations. Leclerc obviously was just bemoaning the strategy choices and all that kind of stuff. I don't think either Ferrari driver has a whole lot of confidence in the car or the team at the moment. And like you just said, this is a track that is unforgiving with errors. And who is the most error-prone team on the grid right now?
Yeah, it's Ferrari.
Yeah. So I feel like, personally, I think one of the Ferrari drivers will probably do decent, but I think there's a potential high likelihood of one of the drivers having the worst day of the season so far for them. And I don't know who it's going to be. Don't know how it's going to happen, but I just have this gut feeling that if there's a track where Ferrari is just going to have all of their eggs fall out of their basket, it's going to be Saudi.
I can see that. Sadly, I can
Sadly.
see that.
And I say this as a diehard Tifosi, it's just comes with the territory, unfortunately.
Yeah. You got to recognize the first step to getting help is recognizing that you need help.
Exactly that. So who do you think needs to take the biggest step forward this week?
I'm probably going to say Williams.
Okay.
Because they've been plagued with one problem or another. Not all of them have been their fault, but you've had Carlos go out one way or another in a lot of Grand Prix so far. Mechanical issues. And yeah, you just need one clean race.
Yeah.
And Williams hasn't really had that yet. A clean race where both drivers are either like in the points or close to it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely possible. So yeah, they just need to iron a few small kinks out to, get better results.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely have a lot of potential there.
They have so much promise. Yeah.
Both Sainz and Albon are putting that Williams right where it needs to be, honestly. Like, obviously, they know they're not, McLaren level. They're not Red Bull level, but they're right behind them. Sainz was in Q3 just putting in some solid laps.
Oh, yeah.
It was very impressive. And Alex was doing the same at Suzuka the previous week. No, I think you're right. I think they definitely have a lot of potential there that can make them definitely move forward. I'm going to say the same for Alpine. Gasly showed that Alpine is not dead. Like it can go out there and hold its own. It just takes a lot of things going really, really well,
Right.
To get there. And Gasly's got it. I'm not convinced Doohan does. I like the guy. Seems like a great driver, but I don't think has the experience he needs to take that level of poor car the distance that it needs to go.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. He's just not that pedigree yet.
Not yet. And Pierre has definitely been around long enough to know what that car needs and how to weasel his way into into the points. And so I think they need to get both drivers up on that level, get them pushing hard. But I'm afraid, like I said, if there's a rookie that's going to make an unforced error at Jeddah, it might be Doohan.
Yeah, sadly, I can see that.
Yeah. So we'll see. Time will tell. Okay, let's hear your top 5 prediction.
My top 5, I am going Oscar P1.
Okay.
I'm going to say George Russell P2.
Okay.
I agree with you that the Mercedes has a lot of potential. I'm going to say Max Verstappen P3 because I can see Max out qualifying Lando, with Lando still being in his own head right now. And I can see, with how narrow this track is, I can see Max defending against Lando and holding him off.
It's a fair bet.
With that, I'm going to go Lando P4, and I'm going to go Kimi Antonelli with P5.
Okay. It's a good lineup. I think it's a very, very realistic lineup. I think it's going to be something along that line.
Well, I think it.
I mean, that's really how it's been the entire season so
Just
far.
about, yeah.
I think I'm going to put George on P1. I think he can do it. And I'm going to put Antonelli at P2.
Silver Arrow 1-2.
I'm going to say Oscar P3, but I think him and Antonelli could swap. I think it could go either way there. They're right there.
Okay.
And honestly, I think if it depends on how qualifying goes, obviously, but I think there's something to be said if George and Kimi can qualify as good at Jeddah as they did at Bahrain, and they play the team game well, they can hold off the McLarens.
I would agree with
Box them out.
Yep.
Undercut them, whatever you got to do, and push one of the two of them to the top step of the podium, while the other one gets either on the podium or a really high scoring position.
Yep, I could definitely see that.
So yeah, so Oscar P3, but like I said, him and Kimi could swap. I'm gonna say Max for P4. I think that's a realistic thing. Lando P5, but P5 could, if not Lando, one of the Ferraris maybe. Most likely Hamilton, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Hamilton's always had good form around Saudi. So.
He definitely has. Yeah.
So I think there's potential there. So, and then to round it out, who you got for P10?
P10. The last point. I don't. For some silly reason, I just don't see that Alpine. It might be able to break further into the points than P10.
Yeah.
Maybe. Just maybe. You know what? Okay, yeah. I think that Williams is going to have a better weekend. So they'll probably have better results too. I'm going to go with one of the Haas's for a P10. And I'm probably going to go Esteban, honestly.
Okay. He finished P8 at Bahrain. So
he's a little more prone to slip-ups, I think, than Ollie is. I think Ollie's a little more of the cautious driver of the two.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say Esteban Ocon for P10.
Okay. I'm gonna go Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah.
I think that car has the potential to go higher up. I just don't know if he's ready to take it to that level around Jeddah. Jeddah is very tight, and I just don't know if he's aggressive enough in that Red Bull in that confined of a space.
I would be worried that he's not cautious enough.
He's either going to put it in P10 or a wall. The question is which one comes first. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? That's a really realistic prediction there.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I think
for
it's
sure.
going to be Yuki. I hope he does higher, honestly. But I think P10, based on what we've seen, is a realistic spot for him. So
okay, yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. It'll be a fun weekend, that's for sure.
Yes, definitely. One way or the other.
Yep, Jeddah's always a good one. So, anything else for Saudi Arabia?
Nope.
All right.
Good.
Moving on down the track, traffic report. Speaking of the Red Bull stables, I am slowly making my way through Drive to Survive this season, and I last night watched the episode Elbows Out, which gives a good behind-the-scenes view of Christian Horner's decision-making process in replacing Checo. It bounces between Silverstone and Mexico, middle to back half of last season, and just the internal drama in the Red Bull camp of what do you do?
Sure.
Who do you lean on? And how much Christian really wanted to replace Checo with Daniel Ricciardo, but the results just weren't there.
Yeah, I don't see why Christian. I mean, I guess Christian and Ricciardo go way back.
Yes, it was very much a we're friends type thing. Like I don't think he saw Daniel as a employee necessarily, but more as a friend.
Yeah, he probably saw the older Ricardo as well.
Yes.
And his, better results as a younger driver. And that just resonated in the back of his head.
Sure. And so you could tell he wanted Daniel to be that second driver next to Max, but the results weren't there. You couldn't convince anybody on the team that was going to be a good idea. But he just didn't also have a whole lot of faith in the other junior drivers either. He didn't have a whole ton of faith in Yuki or Liam at the time. And so they showed this test that they did right after the Silverstone Grand Prix. Red Bull left all their gear at Silverstone for an extra weekend and had Liam and Yuki go out and do some testing. They brought Max in for like an hour tops to just come in and put the best lap possible down there. Apparently he almost beat the lap record at Silverstone on his own.
Nice.
Max did. And then turned Liam and Yuki loose to see who could get the closest. And Liam got within 0.2 of Max, and that was the driving factor of them replacing Checo with Liam. And Horner kind of ends the episode with like, we're doing the best with the best decision making we've got at the time. And it's just funny now watching that episode, knowing what we know now, that they didn't give him a whole lot of time, and it's really sad.
They didn't give him a whole lot of time, and also that's a weird way to make a decision.
It is.
Like you're gonna decide an entire season, potentially an entire season's worth of driving based on one lap time.
Basically, yes.
Yeah, that's not a good foundation to build a team off of.
Nope.
Yeah.
I think it goes to show that Drive to Survive kind of pitches it as Horner is the one making all of these decisions. And I'm sure, and at the end of the day, he's the CEO. The buck does stop with him.
Right.
But we all know that,
there's people whispering in his ear.
Specifically Dr. Helmut Marko, who we know is a bit of a
helmet.
A bit of a helmet, yes.
Yeah.
And just a ridiculous person. So it makes me wonder how much internal discussion there is at Red Bull about these sort of things, and what degree of Horner's gut feeling goes into it.
Yeah, you have to think about the history of these drivers. Yuki is like a 5-year veteran at this point.
Right.
You got to look at driver temperament. Yuki was very much a hothead when
Yes.
he first got in F1, but he's very much matured
Yes.
since then. Liam has yet to mature as an F1 driver.
Right.
Like, all signs point to Yuki
Yeah.
from the start.
Yeah.
And then you have seniority to think about, too. Like, I mean, I know seniority is not a huge deal when it comes to a competitive driver scene like this, but there's company culture you got to think about as well.
Sure.
So, yeah, that just sounds like a terrible way to make that kind of decision.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have the benefit, like I said, of hindsight being 2020. We're looking back, 8 months after this decision was made and go, wow, like,
right.
Liam was just, I don't know, it was really hard. But the funny thing is to watch Liam in that episode, and Liam has the biggest chip on his shoulder of, I'm going to come out here. I'm going to be the best teammate Max has ever had. I'm going to outlast every other teammate Max has ever had. I'm going to be right up there next to him. Look at my Silverstone time. I'm 0.2 away. Like, I can do this. And he just comes out with all of the ego and bluster that you can imagine an F1 driver having. And it makes his demotion down to V-carb make a little more sense. It's like, yeah, he had to get knocked down a peg.
Yeah, just a little bit of humility there.
This could be the start of a Liam Lawson villain arc. I don't know.
Or redemption arc.
Or redemption arc. That's true. It's possible. But no, it was an interesting episode to watch. I haven't been particularly thrilled or impressed with this season of Drive to Survive. But the episode where Williams is trying to sign signs was brilliant, and this episode, Elbows Out, was also brilliant. They're the two best I've seen in the season so far.
I see hope for Red Bull, though, in the sense that one thing that's cool about Japanese business culture is that with Japanese culture in general, there's a lot of respect. Respect for your elders, respect for your superiors. And that bleeds into the business culture there, which can be a detriment sometimes if your boss has a really dumb idea
Right.
and you can't say anything about it. A lot of Japanese businesses have something they called the loud American, where they hire an American to just be the guy that says that is a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Yuki needs to be the loud American at Red Bull. They just bring in a Japanese man that has no filter and will walk up to Helmut and look up and stare at him in the eyes and say, "You're an idiot."
Yeah, go pound sand, old man. Oh, boy. But no, definitely, if you want a bit of insight into how that whole decision-making process, go watch that. That one episode can stand on its own. You don't have to watch the rest of the season if you're not a Drive to Survive fan. But it gives some very interesting insight into Christian Horner's decision-making process. 10 out of 10 for that episode.
Nice.
Anything else for the traffic report?
Nah, not a whole lot.
All right. And with that, we will leave the sandy shores of Bahrain and move across the dunes, not too far away. But out amongst those dunes, you might find yourself stumble upon a caravan of camels. And amongst those camels, you might find a tent. And in that tent, you might find, in some random corner of the globe, a tinfoil hat party. All right.
Oh my God.
Party time. Let's go. This was my entry. Do we think the Pirelli tires that they're choosing for the last couple circuits are too hard? They are maxing out the hardest side of the range. This is the third race in a row they've been at the hardest end of the spectrum.
It's curious because, yeah, you're right. And the drivers have clearly been vocal about lack of grip.
I understand Suzuka and Bahrain are high tire deg tracks. I get that. So you obviously don't want your tires falling apart.
No.
But the hardest side of the range just seems a bit excessive.
The hard tire is what that is for.
Right.
Versus the soft and the mediums are supposed to fall apart on you at some point.
Right.
Because you want performance.
Right.
But it seems like, yeah, even the soft, like George made that soft last for like 23 to 25 laps at the end of Bahrain.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
That, yeah, I would say that Pirelli needs to calm down a little bit with the hard compounds.
Yeah.
And reel it in.
I agree. In fact, after that safety car, they brought Antonelli in and they put him on softs to do the last third of that race because they know the soft can hold up that long. I was like, that's not what that tire is supposed to be.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm right there with it. And they did the same hard tires at Shanghai. That was a newly resurfaced track. Mm-hmm. That track should be the least tire deg out there in theory, right?
In theory, yeah.
So why are you running the hardest compounds?
Right.
Bring them down a little bit, make them softer, make a little bit more performance, make it a more interesting traction race, especially with that freaking long DRS zone at the back of Shanghai.
You know, you got to wonder if the hard at Shanghai had extremely good performance, and you got to wonder if maybe Pirelli just got the wrong idea that let's see how well this compound can do.
Yeah.
And just pushed it for the next 2 race weekends. And it clearly did not go the way that they wanted.
Yeah, I think the tire choices at both Suzuka and Bahrain have been poor choices. Mm-hmm. We should get the Pirelli preview again. I am not an FIA fanboy, but I fully understand that this episode is not making me out to be that way. Usually, end of the day for us Americans, end of the day Thursday, early Friday morning, on the FIA's website for each race, Pirelli publishes a preview indicating the tires that will be issued for that race, and they give their logic and reasoning and all the details of what the pressures are supposed to be and just all the crazy data that us engineers love. And I'm just curious what their choice for Jeddah is going to be. That circuit is such high speed. Race it at night, so it's not going to be super hot or anything like that. I really hope they drop it at least one level.
Yeah, just go C2 to C4.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think that's the ideal range for a non-street circuit. I get it on a street circuit. Maybe you want a little harder because you're racing on, adverse terrain. But at the same time, this is Jeddah. This is a dedicated track under very controlled conditions. I think we could drop in a range. And I just think somebody at Pirelli is not making the best life choices.
I'd agree. Yeah. We just change it up a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Come on, got to keep it interesting.
It also makes me wonder if, because they're the same tires from last year. They added the C6? They added an extra range on the soft. It's like a super soft, basically.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if they just had too many leftover harder tires from last year and they're just recycling them or something. I don't know. It just seems weird to me.
Throwing out the trash, yeah.
Yeah, just we don't want to have to pay to make new tires. We're going to reuse some old ones and burn them out at the beginning of the season and hope nobody notices. We noticed, Pirelli. The tinfoil hat sees all.
It sees all. It doesn't know all. It guesses a lot.
It sees all and goes, huh, what they doing over there?
What they doing over there?
Oh, man. Okay, and then your entry for this tinfoil hat shenanigans. Will McLaren prioritize Oscar now?
Dude, that's the big question right now. Because I don't think even McLaren really knows what's going on.
If they do, they don't talk about it.
Right, yeah, they're really hush-hush about it. And, yeah, all the momentum is on Oscar's side of the camp right now.
Yeah.
He's more focused. He's more consistent. He's quicker. And clearly more motivated.
Yeah.
And it just shows, like we were saying before, Lando, his public persona is one of exasperation and personal defeat.
Yeah.
And you just got to wonder, if I were McLaren, I would go hands off, stay neutral, let them duke it out. They are neck and neck, like 3 or 4 points away from each other in the Drivers' Championship right now.
It's pretty close.
You gotta let them fight for it. You pulling up the driver standings right now?
So after Bahrain, Lando Norris is leading with 77 points, and Oscar is at 74. So
Yeah,
3 points separate these two.
Yeah, you just gotta let them fight at this point.
Yeah.
Tell them to keep it clean. Use proprietary rules for that, of course. But as far as driver position goes, just let the men race.
Yeah, agreed. Because it's going to come down to, they're going to, prioritize the wrong one too long and screw themselves over in the driver championship. Especially if Yuki gets that Red Bull under control and knows what he's doing. It's just a matter of time before Red Bull starts shooting back up those standings.
Yeah,
and you can't hold off to Red Bulls doing what the Red Bulls do.
You really can't. And then you have the occasional George Russell that's going to sneak in there somewhere. So yeah, in order to really not just seed but cultivate a championship winning team, a consistent championship winning team, you've got to have a culture of competition, and you can't do that if you tell one of them to calm down and not push.
Right.
So yeah, I don't want to say that McLaren is prioritizing Oscar right now. They need to just let these guys duke it out. If Oscar keeps winning, yes, I do think McLaren's going to start prioritizing Oscar. Probably about Miami, Monaco-esque part of the schedule.
That makes sense. That is definitely a fair assumption. I think they do need to let them race. I think the only way Lando's going to get out of his funk, the only way these two are going to settle this argument is on the track. If the press keeps going back and forth the way they're going, it's going to end up hurting them more than helping them. And the best way to do that is just let one of them prove they're top dog on the track, just like every other team does.
Yeah, if Lando wants to get out of that funk, he has to win on his own merit. So it's a coin toss, but it's better than just artificially feeding it one way or the other.
Yeah. I also partially blame, and this is just personal opinion, this isn't based on anything concrete, but this is Sinful Hat Party. It's what we do. I believe that McLaren also has kind of a poor leadership structure in that you have Zach Brown is there as CEO, not team principal. Andrea Stella is the team principal, and Andrea Stella is no newbie to F1. Dude came from Ferrari. Like, the
Right,
man knows
yeah.
how this whole business works. And so it makes me wonder if there's some disagreement between Zach and Andrea as to how to handle these drivers. If, maybe Andrea, because it seems from all the interviews I've seen, Andrea wants to let them race.
Yeah,
He
and
wants them to be a clear number one driver.
yeah, and then you have Zach Brown, who is clearly a Lando fan,
Yes.
to the point where he is saying that this is the Lando Norris era.
Yes.
And the entire F1 community is laughing at him for saying that right now.
Yep. And again, going back to Drive to Survive, which again, I know is not representative of the whole of F1 politics and drama and all that. I understand that. But one thing that they do very interestingly on Drive to Survive is show who Zach is off the pit wall. The man's a showman. The
Yes, he
man
is,
is all
yeah.
about, it's not necessary, because he's CEO, so he can't just be about the racing. There has to be profit, there has to be marketing and all this kind of stuff. Drama breeds attention.
Yes, yeah,
And
it's
so
engagement.
It keeps people focused on your team. It keeps people buying merch of both drivers instead of just like, sorry, nobody is out there probably buying Yuki Tsunoda Red Bull merch. Everybody's buying Max Verstappen merch.
I mean,
Because he's
you
clearly,
don't know. But
well,
yeah, you're right.
I mean,
you're right.
outside of Japan, if you're a Red Bull fan, you're most likely a Max Verstappen fan. You're going to buy Max Verstappen merch. Given if you're going to choose between the two drivers, you're going to choose the world champion driver.
Now, the exception to that was Checo,
Oh, correct.
but that was again because he has such a huge regional following.
Yes, and Red Bull played into that. But by that same token, I think Zach Brown is looking at if we create this drama of these two drivers going against each other, we keep so much focus on us. We control the F1 news cycle. This is like what, the fifth or sixth episode in a row we've talked about this?
Yeah,
These two drivers?
for real.
Why? Because it is this dominating thing in F1 news right now, and I don't think that's an accident. I think it's a Zach Brown orchestrated thing. Is kind of how I feel.
You think it's all manufactured? Eh?
I don't know about manufactured, but I think it has happened, and Zach is like, why should we intervene in this? This is great for business.
I can see that.
I have a 2027 WEC entry I have to pay for.
You know what? That makes a whole lot of sense. That makes too much sense.
That's my tinfoil hat conspiracy for the day.
Oh man, you're gonna keep me awake at night with that now.
This is not on the list, but it came to me a moment ago, and I'm just curious your thoughts on it. Based on what we've seen so far, obviously it's a few races out. In fact, let me pull up the schedule here real quick just to see. We are currently we finished Bahrain, we're at Saudi, we got we are 3 races away from Monaco.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, Monaco, the race, is not all that impressive to watch. It can be a bit boring.
Yeah.
But based on what you've seen, who do you expect to take pole position at Monaco?
Ooh, you know?
If the tinfoil hat party had a crystal ball where you could peek into the future, who would you see at turn 1 going into Monaco?
You know, I gotta go Max. I can see him pulling off another lap like he did at Suzuka. Because Monaco is so tight to where maximum car performance just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can see Max just turning on that Verstappen charm and somehow eking out a lap that's just like 100th or 2 faster than the McLarens.
Okay. I asked this because I genuinely don't know. The cars are all set up for so much speed, and if there's one thing we know about Monaco, it's that speed just doesn't translate to usually great times at Monaco. No. It's about car control.
It is, and now they do have special spec wings for these.
Correct.
For this particular track.
Correct. There's whole Monaco unique setups for this. Like, I get that, but at the same time, it's one of those things that I just don't have. I don't have a warm fuzzy about who is going to be the one to do that. Obviously, Leclerc won the race last year. Who took pole? Was it Leclerc?
I thought it was. Or was it Lando? Jeez, our memory's not great right now. Yeah, you're looking at the 1950 British Grand Prix. I don't think that's the right one.
Yeah, it started me from the bottom. We don't plan on staying there. Let's see. Where am I at?
Yep, Monaco. Yep.
Qualifying.
It was
Leclerc.
Leclerc,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was Leclerc.
Oh, yeah, Lando was before Oscar was second. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, the top five at Monaco last year in qualifying were Leclerc, Piastri, Sainz, Norris, and Russell. Obviously, I don't think I don't know if the Ferraris are going to do that, specifically Hamilton. Maybe Leclerc will. It's home race for him. But yeah, I think it could come down to McLaren's and Red Bull, but it could also just totally blow our minds, and some rookie may be able to pull that off. I don't know.
I mean, they're all familiar with Monaco.
Yeah, it's just one of those weird tracks where anything can happen, good and bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something that has been on my mind as we've been recording this. I mentioned Monaco earlier, and I was just like, who do we expect to take pole position at Monaco? Because the race doesn't really matter, honestly, to me. It's more about the qualifying, because that's where you're trying to put it on pole, because whoever takes pole position usually wins the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a weird thing to look forward to. It's hard to believe Monaco's only 3 races away.
It's so close.
I didn't realize it was so close. But yeah, anything else for the tinfoil hat party?
No, sir. Taking the hat off.
Taking the hats off. All right, and with that, let's move to driver versus driver. Let me pull up my nifty score sheet.
Let me see. I got the driver hat. We put 2 drivers and or team principals. Jeff picks an activity, and we discuss who's better. And if I recall correctly, somehow Esteban Ocon is still on top right now.
Correct.
Did you lose the score sheet again, Jeff?
I did not. I found it.
Very good.
Okay. Who do I have? Do I have drivers or do I have activities?
I've got drivers. You've got the activity.
All right. Punch it.
All right. Driver/principal number 1 is Kimi Antonelli.
Antonelli.
And he will be going up against Yuki Tsunoda.
Antonelli versus Tsunoda, and the activity is taking over the world.
Oh, jeez. Here's the thing. Kimi's too innocent.
Yeah.
Like he's just a
kid.
He's a nice kid. Yuki has a nice exterior persona. I'm not saying that it's fake, but there's a dark side to Yuki.
Yeah.
We've all seen it.
Yep.
We all know it's there, and we all know that he is not afraid to use it every now and again.
He is prone to letting you know how he feels.
Exactly. Yeah. So if anyone was to be a villain out of the 2 of them, I would go with Yuki.
I'm going to agree with you there. Kimi is just he's just a baby.
He's just a little baby guy. All right. Points to the Japanese driver.
So notice first points on this board.
Next up, we have got Mattia Binotto, team principal at Sauber.
Not any longer. He's CEO of Sauber.
right.
Jonathan Wheatley is now team principal, but we'll leave it. We'll leave it for now.
We'll leave it up Binotto. And he will be going up against, go with someone else here. Change that up because that was Kimi again. Come on. Nico Hulkenberg.
Driver and CEO.
And CEO.
The activity is Quidditch. At least Binotto kind of looks like an old Harry Potter.
He's got the glasses for it, yeah. But, if we're going to put them both on a broom, I mean, Nico's going to be the fastest of the 2 by far. And he's physical enough to be almost any position.
Yeah,
he
that's
could be
fair.
a beater. He could be a seeker. Yeah, I just don't see Binotto up. I don't see him pushing a broom as to its limit.
He would win a Quidditch cosplay contest.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would.
1 point for Gryffindor. All right, one more.
All right, we have got Fernando Alonso
Alonso, the eternal rookie.
versus Jack Doohan.
Ooh. Alonso versus Jack Doohan.
2 rookies.
The activity is ballet dancing.
Oh, jeez.
So here's the thing.
I mean, Doohan's already wearing pink.
Yeah. At Suzuka, he was even spitting. I don't know if Doohan would do it. I think he'd look at this and go, no, this is dumb. Alonso would do it for the TikTok.
Dude, yes, he would. Yeah. That was my thinking. Alonso would.
I don't know if he'd be good at it, but he'd be like, yeah, hand me those shoes.
Yeah.
Hand me that tutu.
I do spin now,
I'm going to go with Alonso.
as am I.
And with that, we now have a tie for first place. Ocon with 2 points and Fernando Alonso with 2 points.
Interesting.
Dun, dun,
Okay.
dun. So we are slowly progressing.
It's
up the
kicking
standings.
off.
We just have so many names in that.
We
hat.
do,
This
yeah,
is-
yeah. That's the thing. Points are critical.
Yeah, it's crucial. But no, it was a good one. That was some good mix up. It was good to see a couple, another team principal in there. We haven't had a whole ton of
It's
those.
been a little while.
All right, let's hear your quote of the week.
My quote of the week. At the Grand Prix, leading up to the national anthem, I believe it was Martin Brundle's doing his pre-race shenanigans.
Yep.
And Lando's jogging behind him. Martin pulls him over really quick, says, Lando, you got 20 seconds. 20 seconds until the national anthem. And Lando goes, no fine for me. As he jogs on up.
I love how they're no longer teammates, but Lando and Sainz will always poke fun at each other for stuff like that.
It's beautiful to watch.
Their friendship is a thing of beauty. It's fun to watch as a fan.
Very older brother, younger brother, and I'm here for it.
Very much that. I'm here for it.
My runner-up is not necessarily a quote per se, but just the entire driver lineup / grid coverage by Davide Velasici.
Davide.
Davide Velsecchi, I think is how you pronounce it.
Correct.
Yeah. The whole thing was a meme.
Yes.
And it was amazing.
It was hilarious. It was the most Italian thing you could
Oli
ever hear.
Birdman.
It was great.
Ajar.
It's wonderful. He is like a kid in a candy store at every single race he's at, and it just makes the F1 TV coverage just great.
The amount of passion that comes out of every word that he says.
Yes.
And the Italian hand signals that he gives all the time. It's so Italian. It's fantastic.
Yes.
And I want more. I'm here for it.
I mean, obviously the rest of the presenters are all British on F1 TV and Sky Sports for the most part, other than Nico Rosberg.
And she who shall not be named.
Yeah, we don't talk about her. So to have somebody of a different nationality and accent and just bring just some color to it. I mean, you literally have these people there for color commentary. That's what they're there for.
Right.
And yeah, Valsecchi just brings a joy to it. So
much energy.
If anybody from F1 TV happens upon our podcast, we are all for Valsecchi staying on and continuing doing what he's doing because it's hilarious. We love it. We love him.
Endless meme content.
We lost great meme content when Buxton went to IndyCar. We have found it in Davide, and I'm here for it.
Yep.
No, good picks.
Thank you
for your quotes.
How about you?
Mine was Russell after the safety car. They put him on the soft tires, and he goes, "That's 24 laps on a soft tire. That's pretty audacious." Even George was like, "That's a tall order, Toto."
Guys,
what are you doing to me, Toto?
I know I did well at Spa last year, but come on.
It was a whole different ball game, but he did it.
He did
It's great. It's impressive. And then number 2, it's not just any one specific quote, but it's David Coulthard and Julian Palmer going on about lunging. Love a lunge, Mr. Lunge. Every time somebody did a dive bomb into whatever turn, hearing them go off on it was just the comedic relief that you tune into F1 TV commentary for.
Dude,
You don't get that kind of stuff on Sky Sports. You tune into F1 TV for that.
Any weekend where David Coulthard is in the commentary box, you know it's going to be a good weekend. It's going to be great coverage.
Bless that man. He brings so much to the commentary. I'm here for it. It's just wonderful.
Yes.
I'm here for it. So.
Very much.
No, it genuinely seemed, honestly, this week, I feel like the lineup that they had on F1 TV this week was just, they were having a lot of fun.
Yes.
Very
much.
I think most of these guys don't view this as a job. They view it as...
They're there because they love it.
It's a hobby they're getting paid to do. And I think even James Hinchcliffe has said that on more than one occasion. He's just like, this is what I love, and I'm getting paid to talk about it all the time. Who could ask for a better gig than this? And
I'm for real.
It shows, and it's great.
When you love what you do.
Yeah. What a world to live in.
If only.
If only. All right. I think that will do it for all of the fun shenanigans. You got any saved rounds or anything else?
No, sir. I think this is I don't think this is our longest episode, but it's close.
It's getting up there.
Yeah. So if you have stuck around this long, thank you. But yeah, we're excited to see what comes next out of Saudi Arabia.
Yep, it's going to be a fun one. So, if you have any questions, anything you'd like to know about, or any change of pace from just hearing us wax poetic about Formula One for an hour and a half, drop us a note, a DM on our socials.
We are everywhere.
We are literally everywhere. We're also pitstrategypodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to send us an email if that's more your speed. Literally anywhere you want to know. Any question, we may not have the answer, but we'll, our dedicated research staff of us will look into it, or we'll talk to people who are more knowledgeable than us. This show has many friends. You know who you are. And if we don't know the answer, we know who to go ask. Mm-hmm. And we're not afraid to go bug an F1 presenter on Twitter if we have to get an answer.
You're not afraid to start a flame war at EA.
Pay no attention to the comments on the new EA F1 game. You might find us in there stoking the fire, and I regret nothing.
We are agents of chaos over here.
Yes, and we love it. Don't at me. Don't at me about that. At me about anything else.
There you go.
All right. I think that'll do it for this episode. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. That'll wrap us up. Thank you all for listening. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Matt.
Until next time, after Saudi Arabia, we'll catch you on the flip side. Until then, pit strategy complete.